In this video, we'll be taking a look at two NFL games happening on January 3rd, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 4 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these two NFL games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start: if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Carolina Panthers versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Falcons flipping the script on Monday Night Football and stunning the Rams made the National Football Conference South race a lot messier. For Tampa, that surprise win hit like a gut punch, since their playoff odds quietly slid downhill. Even if the Bucs take care of business on Saturday, they still need the Saints to walk into Atlanta and beat the Falcons on Sunday to steal the division crown. Motivation will not be an issue on Saturday afternoon. You have two division rivals, plenty of recent bad blood, and the last week of the 2025 NFL season with everything on the line. The strange thing with Tampa is how fast the bottom fell out. Mid-season they looked like a real threat, a team nobody wanted to see, sitting at 6-2 going into Week 10. Since then they have only one victory, and December has been a highlight reel of confusion, with home losses to New Orleans and Atlanta, and last week's stumble against the Fins in Miami. They also blew their first shot at Carolina just 2 weeks ago when Baker Mayfield threw a late interception on what could have been the game-winning drive. From Week 10 on, they have been favored in 6 of 8 games, and they are laying points again here at home. They have not covered a single spread in that stretch, which is not exactly the profile you want when backing a favorite. Injuries have chewed up both sides of the ball for Tampa, and that shows up in their rhythm and consistency. Still, it is hard to ignore the coaching factor. They lost Liam Cohen, their sharp offensive coordinator, to Jacksonville, and he has the Jaguars sitting at 12-4 as one of the top seeds in the American Football Conference. That kind of brain drain matters, especially when you compare how crisp Jacksonville looks on offense versus how clunky Tampa can look in key moments. Carolina has not exactly been a picture of week-to-week dominance either, but their rise to the top of the National Football Conference South feels more earned. They were 4-4 halfway through the season, which already felt like progress compared to the rough years they had before. Road wins at Lambeau Field and in Atlanta, plus home wins against the Rams and recently against these same Bucs, have built a real sense of belief in that locker room. Tampa fans might find it annoying, but the Panthers just refuse to fade out of the race. They lean on a defense that tightens up in big spots, ranking 13th in opponent red zone success, and a run game that sits 11th in rushing yards per contest. They have only dropped back-to-back games once, in weeks 1 and 2, which quietly says a lot about resilience. Bryce Young, in his third year, is not putting up flashy numbers, sitting 21st in yards, 24th in turnovers, and 23rd in QBR, but he is a steadier passer and feels a lot less jittery in late-game situations. When you zoom out, both teams have near identical records, and both have 3 wins in their respective home and road splits. The difference is trajectory. Tampa is in a 1-7 slide over its last 8 games and is 0-8 against the spread in that run. Carolina, on the other hand, is 5-5 straight up and against the number in its last 10 and 3-2 in its last 5 on the road. That is not elite, but compared to Tampa's spiral, it feels calm and competent. This Panthers roster has the look of a young group that finally believes it belongs in these late-season pressure spots. They just beat the Bucs a few weeks ago, so they walk into this matchup with very recent proof that their approach works. Tampa, in contrast, feels beaten down. They have dropped 7 of 8, including back-to-back losses at home, and that eats away at confidence, even for professionals. The stakes are clear enough. If Carolina wins, the division is theirs. If Tampa wins, they still need Atlanta to fall on Sunday. So one team knows it controls its own fate, while the other is playing and also scoreboard watching. On top of that, Baker Mayfield is gutting it out with knee and shoulder issues. That kind of physical wear and tear matters more in late December and early January, when every hit costs a bit more. The Bucs' offense has felt bottled up, with just 20 and 17 points in the last 2 outings. They lean heavy on the passing game, partly by identity and partly because the ground game is not as reliable as they would like. That actually works in Carolina's favor. The Panthers bring a strong pass defense that is holding opponents to just 204 passing yards per game, which is exactly where you want your strength when you face a team that would rather throw than run. Honestly, it is tough to justify backing Tampa as a favorite right now. They are only 2-7 against the spread when laying points this year, while Carolina has thrived as the underdog, going 8-5 against the spread in that role. When your supposed superior team cannot cover numbers and your supposed inferior team keeps punching above its weight when catching points, it paints a pretty clear picture. All things considered, taking the underdog Panthers with the spread feels like the more logical and less stressful side. As our first pick for this matchup, the Carolina Panthers to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Carolina hung 23 points on Tampa in that win 2 weeks ago, which showed they can move the ball effectively against this defense. The Buccaneers, for their part, have allowed 20 or more points in 4 straight contests. When a defense keeps giving up that kind of output, it nudges totals upward, especially against a familiar divisional opponent that has already solved some of your looks. Tampa still has a healthy and dangerous receiving corps, and that always keeps the ceiling high in front of the home fans. They are averaging a solid 25 points per game at home this season, which is not trivial. Even with their recent slump, you have to respect that scoring baseline in their own stadium. Last month against Carolina, they piled up 169 rushing yards, which is a serious chunk of production on the ground. Given that the Panthers' rush defense is pegged 19th, it is reasonable to expect Tampa to find more lanes in the run game again. If the Bucs can pair an efficient rushing attack with their usual passing volume, the scoreboard can flip from cautious to lively pretty quickly. There is also a strong historical nudge toward higher totals in this specific matchup. The over has cashed in all 5 of the Panthers' last 5 road games against Tampa Bay, which suggests that when these two get together in Florida, things tend to open up. You never want to rely purely on trends, but when the matchup story, recent form, and data point the same direction, it becomes harder to ignore. With a relatively low total on the board, a Tampa offense that usually shows up at home, and a Carolina team that has already proven it can score into the 20s against this defense, expecting a points-friendly outcome makes sense. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Seattle Seahawks versus San Francisco 49ers. Schedule makers really leaned into drama here. 2 NFC heavyweights meet with the NFC West crown and the number 1 seed hanging in the balance. Both teams are peaking, or at least close to it, as the season winds down. The home side has treated its fans pretty well, going 5-2 straight up in its own building, while Seattle has turned travel days into business trips at 7-1 on the road. In just 2 days, the Seahawks moved from a small underdog to a small favorite. Honestly, with money flowing in both directions, it would not be shocking if that line flips again before kickoff. If you scroll back through December for either team, you mostly just see wins. Seattle's last stumble came in Week 11, a tight 2-point loss to the Rams. Since that game, they have rattled off 6 straight victories. There was the memorable comeback in the rematch with the Rams, and then convincing wins over the Vikings, Falcons, and Panthers, the kind of margins that make power rankings folks sit up a little straighter. Just 2 years into his tenure, Mike Macdonald has leaned into his defensive strengths and squeezed real value from the talent on that side of the ball. On offense, Sam Darnold showed up and immediately proved he was more than a placeholder. He is now chasing a second straight 14-3 season with a different team, which is wild when you step back and think about it. Even better for Seattle, they are one of the healthiest rosters in the league, heading toward January with very few obvious weak spots. That said, it has not all been smooth. Their offense has sputtered at times down the stretch and sits 16th in total offensive EPA. Still, they have enough playmakers to respond when they absolutely have to, which is often what matters in games like this more than raw rankings. San Francisco's story echoes Seattle's in some ways. Their most recent loss also came against the Rams back in Week 10. Since then, they have run the table at 6-0, and the average margin, plus 14.3 points per game, is not something you fluke your way into. The schedule softening a bit certainly helped, but Brock Purdy's return has clearly stabilized the offense. Last week was another reminder of what that unit can do. With their own defense practically taking the day off, the Niners still poured on points against the Bears at home, dropping 42 and going a perfect 5 for 5 in the red zone. The ongoing concern is still that defense, which took heavy injury hits mid-season and has not fully recovered on that side of the ball. Even so, the offense is humming along, now 6th in total EPA, and looks fully comfortable in shootout or grind-it-out situations. So you end up with two teams in terrific form, both used to winning and both holding real confidence in what they do best. In some ways, this might be the most fun watch of the week, precisely because neither group looks particularly fragile. Here is the thing, though. San Francisco's recent offensive explosions have largely come against weaker defenses, the kind that leak yards at every level. Seattle is not that type of opponent this season. Their defense is sturdy, disciplined, and built to avoid complete breakdowns. Flip it around, and Seattle's road profile stands out. They have consistently performed away from home, and now they are matched up with a Niners defense that is not generating pressure at the rate fans are used to from earlier versions of this team. When your pass rush does not quite get home, even a steady offense like Seattle's can look a lot more dangerous. Putting all of that together, it feels like Seattle is better equipped to handle this particular environment. They are comfortable on the road, they bring the stronger defense right now, and they face a banged-up unit that has not been as disruptive as its reputation suggests. In a coin flip type game, that combination nudges us toward the visitors to grab yet another road win and take the division in the process. As our first pick for this matchup, the Seattle Seahawks to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Seahawks still have one of the most complete rosters in the league, even if their offense took a small step back late in the season. Facing underwhelming opponents like Tennessee and a battered Colts team probably played a role in that drop, since it is easier to throttle down when the challenge looks lighter. That will not be the case here. This time they are facing a San Francisco defense that, for all its issues, still allows plenty of production and forces opponents to stay aggressive. The Niners' recent home win over the Bears, another serious contender for the #1 seed, was encouraging on the surface. But underneath the scoreline, their defense again looked vulnerable. Chicago rolled up 440 yards, which fits the larger pattern for this group. It has been a familiar story for them this season. Early on they were shaky, and after losing Fred Warner in Week 6, the defensive drop-off became even more obvious. The stretch that followed tells the story. San Francisco gave up 475 yards to the Texans, 488 to the Cardinals, 306 to a struggling Titans offense, and 312 to the Colts with 44-year-old Phillip Rivers under center. That is not the kind of yardage profile you usually see from a traditional Niners defense. All of that points to Seattle having plenty of chances to move the ball on Saturday night, whether through explosive plays or long drives, which both help totals. Where this number likely lands, though, depends a lot on what Seattle does on defense. They rank second in total defensive EPA, trailing only a historically good Texans unit. Back in Week 1, before that defense truly settled, the Niners still managed to win a tight 17-13 game. San Francisco picked up 384 yards and 24 first downs that day, which looked decent at the time. Now, with Seattle fully locked in, it is reasonable to expect that level of success to pull back. The Seahawks' defense is not just solid, it is dominant statistically. They sit first in opponent yards per pass and per rush, and they allow fewer explosive plays than anyone else. Much like his previous stint in Baltimore, McDonald has built a unit that plays with discipline and swagger at the same time. In a prime-time atmosphere like this, you can easily see them coming out hot, setting the tone early and making every yard feel earned. So we get an interesting mix, a San Francisco defense that bleeds yards and invites opponents to keep scoring, and a Seattle defense that slams doors shut and limits big gains. That tension usually tilts totals slightly lower, with long, physical drives rather than quick fireworks. Even with all the talent on both offenses, the coaching styles matter here too. Both Saleh and McDonald understand how to coach for playoff-style football, and this matchup has that exact feel, tight, intense, and measured. In that kind of script, points often come slower than the market expects. Field position, third down stops, and red zone execution take center stage, and every mistake feels magnified. So while it is tempting to expect a classic shootout because of the stakes, the way these defenses are built and coached nudges the expectation toward a more controlled scoring pace. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.